Friends, welcome. It's nice to have you here. And we don't assume that everybody knows each other who we've invited to our dinner party for this evening. So Colleen's going to invite you to get to know each other just a little bit better as we gather for supper together.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Colleen, and I use pronouns she and her. And I am so excited that you have come to join us for dinner this evening. But as you are getting to know each other, as Reverend Bruce alluded to, we want some time to just figure out what's going on. What's been good about your week or your day today? What's been maybe not so good? I invite you to turn to one of your neighbors, maybe a neighbor who you don't already know, so you can get up and wander if you'd like. There's some mixing and mingling allowed at this dinner party. And just share with them what's a high from your day and what was a low from your day. So for myself, a high from my day, I spent some time with one of our young people today, and we did some Lego building, and that was a really fun part of my day. And a low from my day would be that I meant to go to the gym this morning, but I realized I didn't have enough time, so I just felt annoyed by the lack of time in my day, and that was a low from my day. And I invite you to share that with your neighbors and just share what you feel like sharing. Interrupt our dinner conversation, especially when it sounds like we are having such wonderful conversation. But we're going to take our time to really settle into the next part of our dinner and get ready for what comes next by singing together. I know some folks sing at dinner parties. I'm not usually one of those, but today I am. And we're going to sing from Voices United. It's number 466, or you'll find it on our menu for this evening. It's called Eat This Bread. Are we going to stay? I think we're staying seated for this. We're not going to all get up and stand around the table.
I'm sitting down. I'm not getting them up again.
We're going to stay seated.
Well, friends, if you're a little confused as we start our night, and to our friends who might be watching online, you're probably wondering, too, what's been going on? Well, as we were talking about tonight, really, we were envisioning that when Jesus had his friends for dinner, they would have been coming and talking like we did, and having moments to maybe sing, maybe some time to talk, as we will in a few minutes. And so we're envisioning that. So if you wondered, why did they call it tonight's menu? We're envisioning you've come for dinner with us, coming to Jesus' table to share together. And so if that helps you to think that way, then we invite you to get into that spirit that we have gathered together for a dinner party. And as we've come together, we just want to say welcome to friends from the Guelph United Churches, ministries, which we call GUM, and to some of the folks here today. I know we have folks from Harcourt and Trinity and Three Willows, as well as Dublin people, and maybe some others who've just wandered in, and we are grateful to have you all tonight. For it's kind of an eclectic gathering of us together as friends. So, welcome. As Colleen has said, my name is Bruce, and I use the pronouns he and him, and we'd like to welcome you to Dublin Street tonight as a host. If for some reason you need, sometimes at dinner parties you need to politely ask, where's the facilities? There is one right down this hallway here, and if that seems too close, you can slip down the back stairs, and there's one just outside at the bottom of the stairs. It's called the family washroom. So I invite you to use those if you need to during our time. We also are aware that some folks are off to choir practice, and to be honest, we have folks coming here for 7 o'clock. So we will not be long at our dinner party this evening, so I'm sorry. No prolonged conversations this evening. So I'd like to invite you into grace tonight. And I was feeling a little pressure choosing the right grace for such an important time as this and with such important friends like you. So I spent a little time looking for one that might be appropriate, and I came across this one. God bless this bunch as we munch our lunch. And then there was, Lord, may we all eat as we are able until our stomachs touch the table. That's not bad, I thought, but, we're kind of conscious about our health, so we decided maybe that wasn't the best one for tonight. This one seemed a bit harsh. Bless these sinners as they eat their dinners. This one is too short, but is my family's favorite. Food, life, amen. So you can see I didn't know which one would be just right. So if you don't mind, I wrote one for tonight with the inspiration from Reverend E.W. Scott, former Primate of Canada. Let us pray. Oh, Jesus, in a world where many are lonely and wonder where they fit, we thank you for friendships and community and for reminders we are loved by you. In a world where many are despairing, we thank you for hope and the gifts of care that show our worth. In a world where many struggle to find their meaning, we thank you for calling us close, calling us friends, and offering us a way to love. In a world where many are hungry, we thank you for this food tonight and how the power of this meal speaks to a longing world. Thank you, Jesus, for meeting us at this table in so many ways. Amen.
Up to the pulpit.
You could. It's pretty formal for our dinner party, though, John, so I'm just going to give you my microphone right here. And we wanted to remember the story of Maundy Thursday. My friend John.
Tonight, I just, to be in a different place than I'm often at Trinity, but to be here tonight and to gather for a special meal and just to imagine the upper room, the way Mark tells the story is quite beautiful. On the first day of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb is sacrificed, his disciples said to him, "Where do you want us to go and make the preparations for you to eat the Passover?" So he sent two of his disciples, saying to them, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him. And wherever he enters, say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room? Where may I eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, furnished and ready. Make preparations for us there." So the disciples set out. They went to the city. They found everything as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover meal. When it was evening, he came with the 12. And when they had taken their places and were eating, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me. One who is eating with me." They began to be distressed and to say to him, and one after another, "Surely not I." He said to them, "It is one of the 12, one who is dipping the bread into the bowl with me. For the Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that one not to have been born." while they were eating, he took a loaf of bread. After blessing it, he broke it, and he gave it to them. And he said to them, "Take, this is my body." He took a cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, and all of them drank from it. He said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly I tell you, I will never again drink of the fruit of the vine until when I drink it anew in the kingdom of God." When they had sung the hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives.
Preparing for dinner this evening, Reverend Bruce and I were talking a little bit about what are the parts of Maundy Thursday that we really want to think about and focus on this Thursday. And we talked a little bit about communion and about how communion is such an important part of this day. And how somehow we sometimes manage to just kind of skirt past the fact that Maundy Thursday is the first time communion is celebrated. And so we thought we would take some time to talk about what it is about communion that is important to each of us. So I'm going to share a little bit about what is meaningful about this table for me. And then Reverend Bruce is going to share a little bit about what's meaningful about this table and this time for him. And then we're going to have an opportunity to share with our neighbors a little bit about what's meaningful about this table and this time for you. And just have some time to think about that. Having grown up an active part of the United Church, I can't say I actually gave a lot of thought to communion and its importance until I was doing my Master's of Divinity and was required to think about it, as it would be my responsibility eventually to preside over communion. I actually think that taken for grantedness was a blessing, but I'm also happy that I was required to really think about what is meaningful about gathering around this table. A feature about this table is equality. Everyone who comes to eat here receives the same thing regardless of who they are, with slight adjustments for things like gluten-free. So regardless of who they are, what they do or do not contribute, how often they attend, and what they do not do or do not do in the rest of their lives. They are all welcome. We are all welcome. There are not many places in this world where this is true. Perhaps the only place this is true is at the table of God's love. Here, everyone is equally seen, known, and they all get 100% of God's love and care. For a moment, the ideal that is the kingdom or kingdom of God can be known. And it really is only for a moment, because like at the Passover table long ago, we get a glimpse of heaven, and then immediately our human brokenness kicks in as we walk away from the table, and like Peter, Judas, and the other disciples, we betray, deny, and fall asleep again. But hopefully, that sense of Jesus in us and us in Jesus remains as we consume bread and wine, or juice in our case, because this aligns with what the inclusive nature of our open table means. the bread and wine that are as intimate as Jesus' very body and blood, so that we may carry the love that God has for us, that is so unconditional, that Jesus offers it even while saying, "You will betray me." Reverend Bruce.
Colleen, you kind of challenged me when we were thinking about communion. You said something about, you love Maundy, Thursday, and you love what this day is about. And I was thinking, as a kid, as a teenager growing up, I don't think Maundy, Thursday meant much, like to my family or to even the church community. I know my home church would host the event on Maundy, Thursday, and maybe we went once, maybe we went twice. We'd always seem to make it to Good Friday, but we didn't seem to come to Maundy, Thursday. And then when you sort of reminded me that this is the event where communion gets started, and in the United Church, it's one of our 2 sacraments outside of baptism. You went, this is kind of a big deal. And yet, only this family that we have here tonight have caught on to that. They're here. And there's so many more of us who didn't remember that. But I'm not here to make people feel bad about it. That was my experience too. We just somehow seemed to miss this night. Now, unlike you were talking about how communion for you was something that you just could take for granted. I remember growing up, and maybe some of you remember too, that it was a big deal to have communion. Like, I was told, no, you can't have it. And some people tell me they got their hands slapped when they tried to. That didn't happen to me, but you waited. And the waiting was always said, until you understand. I don't know if any of you heard that. I was just going, until you understand. And so you waited. And usually it was until you were confirmed in the church. When you made your own profession of faith, you were then allowed to take communion. And that's why sometimes communion is such a big deal when people get confirmed, because it's their first time. Thankfully, I think the church has relaxed their notion of that a lot, and it's less about understanding. As someone said to me, who really understands what communion's about, what it's fully about, to be loved by God, and that God can love us even when people betray Jesus. I mean, like, how does that... So we kind of move from this place of understanding to a place of accepting God's love for us. So for me, when we come to this table, I think the profound nature of it is, I remember God's grace for me. God's love is for me. Not because I'm worthy, not because I'm deserving, but because God chose to share it with me. And so when we come to communion humbly, I remember it's not because of anything I've done that God has loved me at this table, but it's because God has already chosen to love me. So that's one of the things I remember when we come to this table. We don't know where that will greet you tonight. We're not expecting you to give theologically deep answers to this question, although I know most of you probably could. But how does communion capture you? What makes it special for you? What memories do you have around that? We have a few minutes. We're not going to have a long time to have a conversation, but we have a little bit. So would you find someone near you and just share how is communion special to you? Or if you've not had communion very often, or this might be your first time, what are your questions around it? And why does the church lift it up so importantly might be a question you could ask the person near you. So we invite you to have those conversations. To our friends at home, if you are by yourself, maybe you can ponder that question. How come communion is as important to you? To our friends at home, you may also want to take this moment to grab something for communion at your dinner table, because we forgot to mention that beforehand, so you might want to find bread or a cracker that you have at your house, or a beverage as you do that. So to our friends here, we invite you to have a conversation a little bit about communion and what makes it special for you. your good conversations. We were going to ask you to share some of your thinkings, but dinner's getting cold, and we need to get some of you also off to choir practice. So we're going to move into our time of sharing together our meal.
As we gather around this table, I offer some words that I penned a little bit earlier in the week around the too muchness of this day. So much happens on Maundy, Thursday, around this table and on this night. Too much happened this Thursday. One of those days that contain a year. So full we find ourselves saying, was that on this day too? Wild. That evening, Jesus gathered the 12 of his closest friends together. Well, 12 men. There were probably women there too, but their part in this story comes later. There was Peter, the one with the loud voice, the future leader, not always the smartest, but the most sure, until he wasn't. There was John, the gentle poet, who spoke in riddles and loved Jesus with a devotion akin to a lover. There was Judas, the radical who got scared, desperate to believe in the intangible change, and seeing none, took it upon himself just a little too soon. There were James, Andrew, Philip, Matthew, Thomas, who taught us to doubt, James, Bartholomew, Judas, and Simon, each man with his own story, own witness, own fear, own love for the human person that is our Son of God. They had dinner, a dinner that started as any Passover dinner should: lamb, wine, unleavened bread. Then Jesus went and made it weird, as he was apt to do. My body, my blood, a sacred ritual that Christ followers practice 2,000 years later. On this night, it was a moment of grief, an undeserved gift. Jesus desperately trying to build resiliency in his friends before he and they would be changed forever. My body, goodbye. My blood, I love you. Let me be a part of you and you a part of me. Every time you eat, remember that this is true.
I don't know at your house whether you put on special things for special occasions. Often in the life of our church, the person at the table will put on a special cloth called a stole. So I bring this tonight to celebrate together with family this time. On this night before he died, Jesus, who took a loaf of bread, gave thanks to God, broke it, and said, "Take, eat. This is my body, which is for you. Do this to remember me." Likewise, after supper, he took a cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it to remember me." as we think about this mystery of life that Jesus creates for us, together we proclaim this mystery of faith. Christ has died. Christ is risen. Christ will come again. We've made you wait a little while for dinner, but we invite you now to come forward. Sue and Michael are going to help us with serving. We invite those of you who are, probably about this side over, if you'll come down this aisle in just a moment. And for those of you who are sort of on this side, we'll invite you to come down this way. So we'll invite you to come, those folks on this side come down, and just kind of circle around your friends and go back to your seats. And the same this way, just kind of circle around and make your way back. Thank you.
He washed their feet. So strange an act of servitude from someone who only hours earlier had been celebrated as a king. This is how I want you to remember me. When you ask yourself, what was it all for? This, the humility, the service, the love, the love, the love. The entrance of glory into the dirty parts of life. When Jesus conducted his own funeral, no one got it. We still don't. Overwhelmed by his humanity, Jesus separates himself from the group and brings them with him. The human Jesus experiences a tension we are all too familiar with. Go away, draw near. Leave me alone, but don't go. Jesus wept. The shortest verse in the Bible, the most human. Don't make me do this. I don't want to. I'm scared this will hurt. I don't want to. We know the feeling well. Too hard, but the only right way. We retreat with Jesus, sometimes weeping, sometimes falling asleep as we attempt to witness another's pain.
Like Jesus in the garden, we offer our cares and concerns to God. In the silence of hearts, we name the things for which we are grateful and the areas in which we need guidance. The people and the places that need your goodness. Not your will, not our will, but yours. Please take a few moments to offer the prayers you bring to our time tonight.
The hours slip by in the dark of night. Jesus is turned over to the soldiers. The disciples immediately forget the lessons. We wake up to a day of unimaginable pain that somehow we call good. But that's for tomorrow. Today, let us remember, when we eat, we are with God. When we drink, we are loved. When we want to remember this death, we serve one another. It's the dark of night. Will you stay awake? We'll sing together a reassurance that perhaps we need going out into an evening like this. You can find it in More Voices, number 90, or you can find it on your menu. We'll remain seated.
enjoy your time. Safe journeys home, and we can see you maybe tomorrow or maybe Sunday. Have a good one.